And so now let's talk about trust. Again, ladies and gentlemen, whether you're the betrayed or the unfaithful listening to me, this is one of those things where there's so much misinformation online about trust. I use, if you really start listening to me live, you come to power hours and webinars, you're going to realize that I tell my story and I tell details of my story all the time because I want people to have reality. I want people to know that this isn't just something I read in a book. I lived through this. So one of the first things that I did in my healing journey, I took a trust again challenge. It was something I found online, Googling, why did my husband cheat on me, all that kind of stuff, right? And something popped up one day, and it was this learn how to trust, do this 30-day trust again challenge. I'm like, okay, well, I certainly need this because I don't trust anything that he says or does. And I had those same feelings. Every time he looked at his phone, I panicked. If he went to the grocery store, I panicked, right? So I thought, this is a great course for me. I need to learn how to trust him again. Okay, it took maybe 3 or 4 days of this 30-day challenge before I realized this was not for me. And I didn't understand why. I finished it because that's just part of my perfectionism. But I did finish it, but it didn't get me anywhere. And I still didn't trust at the end of the 30 days. And it took me a while to really understand why. And it was my husband's journey that helped me figure this out, which is again why I'm so passionate about spreading this message of what it really takes to heal. So after betrayal is discovered, everything out there is saying that the betrayed partner has to learn how to trust again. That's what this 30-day challenge was, going to help me learn how to trust my husband again. But that's not how this works. That's actually the last thing that should happen. The last thing that should happen is me trusting him. So if that's the last thing, what's the first thing? Well, the first thing is that my husband had to learn how to trust himself. Let me just let that sit there for a moment. My husband had to learn how to trust himself first. I'm going to explain what that means in a second. At the same time, I had to learn how to trust me. So my husband had to learn how to trust himself. I had to learn how to trust myself. Then the next piece is that my husband had to learn how to trust me. Then and only then could I begin to learn how to trust him. You see, out there in the betrayal world, we're missing those steps. Everybody's jumping right to the betrayed partner needs to learn to trust again. And it's like, wait a minute. When does my husband have to learn how to trust me? When is my husband going to be trustworthy within himself? So what do I mean by that? I use a lot of stories and pictures and visuals. So, and lots of analogies. So I always say this, trust begins at home. And I don't mean the four walls. I mean in here. This is home. Trust begins at home. And what is trust? Trust basically says that you do what you say you're going to do. That's what trust is all about, right? You tell me you're going to do something and you do it, so I trust you. But how does that look internally, right? Within ourselves. I and my husband and everybody that can hear my voice, we all have to learn to become trustworthy within ourselves first. My husband had to learn how to become a trustworthy man. He had to learn how to speak truth, aka full disclosure. He had to learn how to stop keeping secrets, aka full disclosure. He had to learn how to follow through with what he said. He had to learn how to become trustworthy within himself. I was never going to be able to trust him if he wasn't just a trustworthy human being within himself first. So that's this trust piece. The unfaithful partners have to get the whole truth out there so that they can start living in their own truth. If they're still keeping secrets, like my husband was for those 3 years, if they're still hiding things, then they're not trustworthy within themselves. They're going to still live in shame. That's not going to help anybody. Certainly not the betrayed partner. So that's trust begins at home. So my husband had to become trustworthy within himself, follow through, do what you say you're going to do. What about me? Because I was part of that equation that I just explained to you, right? I had to learn how to become trustworthy within myself. What does that look like for the betrayed partner? Well, it means following through with what we say we're going to do. If you say you're going to put a boundary in place, I want full disclosure by this date or else I'm going to separate. I'm just making something up. And you don't get full disclosure by that date, and you don't follow through with your consequence to that, guess what? You're not trustworthy within yourself. Let's say you're starting a self-care routine and you say, I'm gonna start walking 20 minutes every third day, twice a week, whatever it is, and you don't follow through. Guess what? You're not trustworthy within yourself. So part of what we have to do is help betrayed partners learn how to turn on that gut instinct and then follow through with what they say.